you all had a great Christmas or holiday season so far. I guess we've got a few more days left. Great time for people to go through their collections. So I have a lot of correspondence, and it never occurred to me that I actually never went over the Husqvarna 1600/1640 series. And people were asking, what's the difference between the standard rifle, which is quite popular with collectors, and the lightweight rifle. So I've got those on the table to show you. And then I've got a pre-64. It's not a featherweight, but I thought I would show it to you anyway, because at the time that these were sold, a lot of companies had a full-size rifle and then a featherweight rifle. So Husqvarna offered these two, and Winchester had their corresponding rifles, and Remington had the 660 and the 700. Anyway, don't want to get carried away. But let's start with full-size rifles. So this is what, this would be an example of what collectors are after, because it's a perfectly usable hunting rifle, excellent condition, not so easy to find in this condition. It's a 30-06. It has a 24-inch barrel, and you can see it's a full stock. And I actually weighed it on my handy Amazon scale. And now that was with the scope on. It was 8.6 pounds, which actually is not too bad. It was lighter than I thought. Mind you, this is a Weaver steel scope, so they're fairly light. And I've shown you these before. Still remains one of the best scope mounts ever. I think they call them Weaver tip-off mounts. Just wonderful to work with, easy to get the scope out of the way. And actually on this rifle, it has the full Mauser 98 style action. And it has, I guess, what people call the flag safety. You can see it here. And the flag safety, of course, it's going to hit the scope. So maybe not the best for this particular configuration, but you could figure that out, and there are lots of aftermarket safeties that would change that. And the floor plate release, not really the military style, but not that far from it. There's no thumb release or any other kind of release inside the trigger guard or outside the trigger guard. So when you pop this button, the floor plate comes right off. The action, of course, first class Husqvarna steel. And the triggers, people often ask me about, do I adjust triggers? No, I don't really adjust triggers. I just leave them the way they are. I'll turn the rifle around. I think that Husqvarna came up with probably one of the nicest Monte Carlo stocks. Actually, everything about this rifle is excellent. And we've talked about this before, how the Husqvarna really is as good as a pre-64. Now, it's obviously not the same for collectors, but in every other practical way, it's excellent. And they came, if you're interested in starting to collect these, they came with this butt plate. And this one I'm still surprised I found. I don't think it's been hunted. Normally you get, scratches and bumps, and here's the odd thing, probably from storage, but overall, completely useful. And I probably won't change anything if I decide to take it out hunting or shooting. And they come with the two little screws for an aperture sight. So I think that's sort of the basic basic facts. It's got bigger stock, longer barrel, action's the same, and I'll show you the lightweight now. I don't want to say this lightweight rifle is the holy grail, but there weren't as many lightweight rifles sold, and most of them were in calibers, 6.5 by 55 was very popular. Quite a few 30-06. This one's in 7 by 57, and you can tell probably by the way I handle it, it's a very light rifle. It does have a release in the trigger guard, forward of the trigger guard. Just a fantastic action. and it only weighed, what did it say, 6.7 pounds. That's with the aperture sight, so I don't know how many ounces. That would have had a hood on the front sight. People often take the hood off. I see no provision for a rear sight, which means the rear sight was not removed. Somehow, in my collecting years, you often come across missing sight hoods, you know this, and missing sights. But in this case, it's not really missing. I don't think there ever was a provision for a rear sight, which puzzles me. But I suppose they expected an aperture sight, which was the receiver was factory prepared for. And you can see the stock similarities, but it has a, it has the Schnabel forend, which I've told you before means like beak, I think, in German. This is just about one of the handiest, best made featherweights you can get. The action and the steel are particularly excellent. And normally the accuracy from these, for all the modern talk about minute of angle and so on, these were almost always, when I shot them on paper, minute of angle. And the barrel, 21-inch barrel, 24, as I said, on the full-size rifle. Checkering was decent. Actually, everything on this rifle gets you ready to go hunting. And in 7x57, I just don't think you can find a better round. And talking about safeties, it doesn't have the flag safety. It has quite a friendly safety here, so that that doesn't interfere with anything. You don't have to put any aftermarket trigger. These are, no wonder the collectors are looking for these steady. And again, I was very lucky to find the 7x57, and then in this condition, it's actually remarkable. Just an excellent rifle. These don't go down in value, and you can take them hunting. This can go hunting certainly for the rest of my life, and I probably never want for another rifle. But again, it's the nice thing about rifles is they're useful. Plus, a lot of them are collector's items. At least the older rifles, not so much the factory made like modern polymer stocks, just because the volume. There's just so many people now. And then I just thought for comparison, I'd show you the pre-64. Oh, and I wanted to show you the scope mount. So, this is a pretty big rifle. Probably the easiest. I'll show you this one. Maybe I can hold them both. And you'll see that they're in some ways similar, in some ways different. But, these are bigger guns. I think the pre-64 is heavier, even without the scope. And of course, it has that excellent action. But one of the features of this one I wanted to show you, not easy to find, but still available from Griffin and Howe, is this, I would call it a spectacular side mount. If you read anything by Jack O'Connor or any one of the writers from the Golden Age, these were just very popular. They're expensive. As I said, you can still get them, but they're so convenient. You move these two levers down and simply slide the scope forward. And this took off, I think, a pound. And it's got an excellent Lyman scope. I think you can see that. One of the best scopes. If you can get these with a post reticle, you'll really want for nothing. I hunted with the post reticle for a long time. This one's just a straight crosshair. And then you have the side mount. It's completely out of the way. And you can use this one has a 2-leaf rear sight. And at 8-something pounds, it's just about perfect for the 30-06, 30-06, and 7x57. In those days, they made the rifles, maybe on average 1 pound heavier, which some people told me made it possible to have things like decent butt plates and not so many recoil pads, because actually a 30-06 kind of needs a little bit of weight to it, it's not a bad idea. And as I've said before, we're all pretty strong. I think we can carry a 8 or 9 pound rifle around. And you know, I hunt the alpine and the mountains, and yeah, lighter rifles are nice. But it's not that big a deal. I don't think it's critical. We'll survive with an 8 or a 9 pound rifle. Although I do agree, if you're putting one of those, you know, behemoth scopes on and carrying around, you know, lots of equipment, then maybe a pound or 2 in the rifle makes a difference. And I like Kimbers like everybody else, but and the other lightweights. Anyhow, we'll finish with just a peek at that. Yeah, isn't this just a fantastic system? Never out of alignment. They use these on Garins. This was one of the scope mounting systems, and it remains a classic way to put a scope on a rifle, especially a pre-64, and you can Google that. And then, yeah, we'll finish up with the 2 Husqvarnas. I don't really have a way to put them, but you can see that these are truly first-class rifles. And, oh, the other thing I had in mind showing you these was that some, not as many as used to be, but some are still coming out of Europe as they disarm their populations. They seem to be coming over here in decent numbers. I'm not saying you'll find them in this condition, and if you can find a 7x57 for practical purposes and for collector value, I would snap it up instantly. And yeah, too bad Weaver doesn't make these tip-off scope mounts. Anyhow, yeah, this is, I think, probably the most desirable lightweight, and I've owned them in different calibers, but that 7x57 is just about a perfect combination. So yeah, I hope you found that interesting. They're drilled and tapped. The others, you can see, I don't think anyone's ever removed these screws because they were happy with the aperture sight. And it's an ideal rifle. It's steel, walnut, accurate, light, great caliber. You know, if you don't know 7x57, it's something around a 7mm 08. These days you're going to be hearing more about 6.5s, but that doesn't mean that all the cartridges that came before weren't absolutely excellent. It's one of the best. Anyhow, yeah, thanks for watching. And I guess I should wish you a Happy New Year. It's just a day away. So, and maybe some of you in some parts of the world have already had New Year's. I guess that might be true. All right, and we'll see you in 2024. Take care, have good celebrations, and if you're heading out shooting, good shooting, and be safe. Take care.